unmute all video and audio on the moment. You're live streaming it. Good. Yeah. Yeah, next slide, please.
So can we begin the session?
Sure, by all means. Yeah. Let others join. 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, any issues, Gifty?
Sir, can I begin?
Yeah. What's the time exact? Indian time?
Okay, sir.
Already.
A very good evening to all present here. I warmly welcome everyone to the 108th edition of Intersociety weekly webinar series. This talk is jointly organized by Institution of Engineers, IEEE IEEE Kerala Section, IEEE EMBS, CSI, PMI, IEEE LMAG, IIT Arbitrates, Trivandrum Chapter, AESI, and VMFT. So, today we have with us Francis E.J. Sir, former senior scientist, VSSC, ISRO, and a consultant to NI institutions. I call upon Aditya S. to welcome the gathering and introduce the speaker. Aditya, please.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, all. Today, on the behalf of IEEE Kerala Section and the 108th edition of Intersociety weekly webinar series, here we are going to be held a talk on the topic Science and Pseudoscience by our honorable speaker, Dr. Francis E.J. Sir. Welcome, sir, to the talk. And dear professionals and students, I cordially invite you all to attend the section and make it a grand success. Thank you.
Shall I start?
Sure, sir. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you for a good introduction to this program as well as introducing myself. So thank you for that. Now, shall I start by sharing the PowerPoint?
Sure.
Is it visible now? Can you see the PPT?
It's visible. Yeah.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, we'll put in the full screen and we'll go. Okay. First of all, let me thank the organizers of the program. You know, it's a big list is there. Institution of Engineers, I am part of that Institution of Engineers. Then IEEE and ISOC, Intersociety, and a big list. 15, I think more than 15 associations are supporting this program. Thank to all of them. And also I thank the program secretary or chairman, Dr. Ravindranath, for inviting me for this program. So we will straight away get into the topic. Now, you know, science and pseudoscience, you know, it is a popular topic. We are living through both science and pseudoscience now, especially after COVID or during COVID. And actually, this is a awareness session only we are giving. We will not get into much of the details. And actually, it is a 3-hour program in interactive mode, but our time is limited. All people are very busy people. So we will finish it in 45 minutes. So I will keep the interaction to the minimum, and probably we'll have a good interaction at the end during discussion time, so that I will be able to keep up with the time limits. So we will continue. Now I am interested to know who are all. Okay, this question is not relevant here. I used to give in other communities where there are people who are not scientists or engineers, etc. So this forum, I think all are in this field. So only thing I will be interested to know how many students are there. Can they put the yes or something so that I will know approximately how many students are there in this? The chat box, you can put yes, whoever students are there, and the program controller can tell me approximately how many students are there. Is it possible? Okay, one person has raised hand. Okay, we will not spend time here. We will go ahead because we have got a very shortage of time. We will continue. Now, as far as this session is concerned, this objective is to provide a basic awareness on the science and pseudoscience, both. Very basic awareness. We will not get into details. Probably we can do it in future in some other program. Also, at the end of this session, I feel we will be able to differentiate between a science and pseudoscience. When you get a message, when we hear a speech, or when you attend a training, we will be able to differentiate immediately. That is the purpose of this session. But in this forum, most of you, I am sure, you will be immediately able to detect science and pseudoscience. But especially for students, you have to be very, very careful. And in this session, it is not my aim to label any topic as science or pseudoscience. I will not classify any of the topic like that. It is left to you. And only thing, my duty is to give some basics so that you will be able to do this distinction first. So otherwise, don't ask me whether topic give me tell. Don't ask me whether it is science or pseudoscience. Today I will not tell, and that is not the purpose of this session also. So we'll go ahead with this. So first point I want to address, all of you know why this topic now. All of us know it. This is one reason. See, I find 80% of social media messages I get, not only social media, you take newspaper, TV, or my own personal phone or emails, I get almost 80% of messages related to pseudoscience. I don't know what is your experience. Maybe during discussion time, you can tell your experience also. That is one reason. And this comes in different forms, medical advisors, medical guides, so many videos I say, when I switch on my YouTube, I get lot of advisors medicine, different variety, right from food, medicine, so many methods, so many, techniques are given. So I am sometimes perplexed, whether it is right or wrong, or whether I can believe it, whether I can do it, or is it dangerous thing, Now I see even there are webinars are there on based on that, lectures are there, even training programs. Good. And these training programs are attended by hundreds of people. Today I don't know how many people are attending this program. See, 29 only. But if you do a program on pseudoscience topic, you will see hundreds. The platform will be full. So, and also another reason, recently I got this quote from Nature magazine, all of you know, very famous scientific magazine. They told it is inappropriate for scientists to let misinformation go unremarked. So I took this is one motivation for me that I should do this session. And another comment also comes from, this person, I think most of the younger people must be knowing, all students must be knowing him. Can anybody tell who is this person? His statement, recent statement is there. This is another provocation for me to do this session. All younger generation, maybe old people like me may not be knowing. So I did some reference. Is Chetan Bhagat, very famous author. All young people read his books. There are films based on his books. So this is his comment he made almost 1 year back, 25th April 2021. At that time itself told this is a big problem in India, but I find after coming to Canada, Canada is also not better. Here also a lot of pseudoscience are spreading. US also somebody is telling there also it is there. So the whole world has to be, we have to be very careful. If you get some message from US, don't think it is totally science. We have to be very vigilant and careful. Now this outline of presentation is this. Actually 3 parts are there. This third part I am leaving, we will not get into that. First and second part. First part we will be dealing with science and scientific process. Second part we will deal with pseudoscience and some indicators so that you can immediately detect whether it is science or pseudoscience. And the first part I will go fast because I know most of our team people are related to engineering, science and medicine or biotechnology, which way other students or other senior people are connected. So I will run through the slides very fast. If somebody has got any comment or query, any students here got doubt, during discussion time we will take it up and we'll spend little more time on the pseudoscience and pseudoscience indicator. That is how I am planning this session today. And some of the references I have used for this thing and further reading materials also indicated here. 3 years back, I did a session in science and culture. So requested by French Cultural Center in Trivandrum. They got a popular science series. So they requested me, can I do a session? It was a challenge because I did not know much on culture at that time. So definitely I learned a lot on related to culture at that time. I gave this lecture and I found some of the material I've gone through will be useful in this session also. And I have already done more than 4 sessions on this topic in different forums. And during discussion, I got a lot of inputs, a lot of concern by even doctors and psychologists. And those information also, if time permits, I'll share at the end. There are a number of books are available, references are available. Those who are interested, especially students, you can take a screenshot of this and you can, if you are interested to study more details, you can see later you can study. Please take a screenshot and keep with you. And some more references are there in detail. There are some of the books are there. And I got a big list of various authors has listed what they feel it is pseudoscience. Such a big lists are available. So you can refer to them. I don't think all of them are right or wrong. But if you are interested to study and to check, if you get a topic, hear a topic, if you want to check whether it is science or pseudoscience, you can have these things you can use as a quick reference. This you can do later after this lecture. It may take weeks and months, but it will keep you empowered to check these activities. Now, my whole presentation is captured in this cartoon. That is what I believe. This is a very, very old cartoon. You know, it is a proverb in Malayalam. I think all people know Malayalam here, I hope. So for Malayalis, this, if I show this picture, they know what is it. Can anybody tell what does it mean or what is the proverb related to this? Old generation people know. Younger people may not know. I don't know. Very correct, very correct. So if you tell that sentence and all, so my whole lecture is not required. It's exact my whole lecture 45 minutes is, if you know this cartoon and its meaning, it is enough. So, but if you are having, people are having time, you can still listen to me. So we'll get into what is science. All of you know, but can somebody tell, especially student side, you know, senior people, I don't expect any answer from you, but you can give all comments in the discussion. But student side, anybody can tell what is science? There are 3.93 billion references when I checked 1 year back in August 2021. But when I checked in February 22, already 6.17 billion references are there on science. So it is not difficult to find you a definition. But can you, any student, can you just tell one sentence, what is science? Okay, we will continue. We will not, no, you don't have time, we will continue. So at least students will be able to tell who is this person. Even seniors also know it. Who is this person? I have put him behind bars. There is a reason for that. He is behind bars because he was put to jail because he's considered to be father of modern science. Galilei, all of us know. He was put to jail because he made some invention. He made it public. Not only that, in addition to that, he made this statement. This is the statement. Probably he has gone to jail. In the discussion of natural in the discussion of natural problems, we ought to begin with, not with scriptures. See, at that time, people were referring to scriptures and following that blindly. So probably that is why he made this statement, but with experiments and demonstration. This is the statement he made. Probably that is why that at that time society or people in authority, they could not tolerate it. Ultimately, he has gone to jail. Luckily, he was not executed. At that period, number of people were executed also, you know, the history of Socrates, etc. Many people were executed because of this type of statements working in science. But this fellow was lucky, he did not die in jail. Now, it's coming to the modern world, you know, all of us know who is Abdul Kalam. He also made a very categorical statement. Science is a beautiful gift to humanity, but we should not distort it. So these are the two statements I got from literature, which is making very clear, you know, what is science and pseudoscience. There may be many other quotes you can refer. We will not get into all these things. Now, there is a classical definition. I will tell you about what is science. There are a number of definitions. One or two I will show here and go ahead. This is a knowledge. This is a knowledge or a system of knowledge covering general truths or general laws of operation, especially obtained and tested through scientific method. So key word here is the scientific method. So this will come to that little later. What is scientific method? The process by which you build knowledge using scientific method is defined as a science. It's a one view. There are a number of other views also. Another definition is there, maybe a little more simpler, maybe a little more useful to us is this. The logical and systematic process that builds and organizes knowledge. Again, builds knowledge, but it has got a logical and systematic scientific process, and using testable predictions. Using testable predictions and followed by experimentation to understand the nature, environment, universe, or the data we get. All these things, wherever you apply that, you use a testable, you make testable predictions and conduct experimentation, tests. And this is the process of building knowledge. These are the two definitions I liked most. You can study more definitions definitely in future. And the basic question one scientist has to ask why. This is what I used to tell in my presentation, but some expert in the committee, the delegate told me why is not enough. You have to ask so many questions, you know, why, what, when, where, who, how. This is the way you scientists go ahead. That is what I understand. These are the minimum questions scientists should ask and find answers through testing and experimentation. And many more other questions scientists ask. We will not get into such details now. Now, the spectrum of science, I think this audience, it is not required. Maybe students may be interested. These are science, what all areas they are working, you know, in terms of dimensions. You can see somewhere middle, bottom is the human size, approximately 1 or 2 meters. But when you go to Earth size, it becomes bigger. Then solar system, it comes to 10 raised to 12 meters. Then Milky Way, much bigger, and visible universe, much bigger. Size goes increasing one side. The lower side, you know, human size, then you get into cell size, then you get into atom size, then particle size. Those is goes, a big spectrum is there, minus 15 to plus 27, 10 raised to minus 15 to 10 raised to 27. This is the, what we know, what is the dimensions of science. Every day this range is increasing with our ingenuity and new equipments. We are expanding these dimensions. Definitely in future, it will grow further. According to this size, you know, it is classified and subclassified into different branches of science. Most of us know this, so we will not have much time on this. We will go to the next one. The same dimensions are shown in a pictorial way, in the left side, the smallest side, right side is the biggest size, left side is the protons, electrons, neutrons, the particles, then coming to the atom to the right side, then to the blood cells, body cells, maybe red blood cells, blood cells or other human tissues. These are the 10 raised to minus 6, nanoscales. Or nanotechnology is also operating in that range, 10 raised to minus 6 meters, around that. Then you coming to human being, 1 to 2 meter size, then solar system, Milky Way, and the universe. These are the dimensions going. And you saw, as we know, the visible part is very small. We can see maybe from some 0.1 to a particular size only. Beyond that, you have to use telescopes, which are faraway objects. In smaller objects, we are using microscopes. Different types of microscopes are there. So these are the scales in the dimensions and the equipments. And every day, new tools and equipments are coming to study various branches of science. We will not cover all of them here. We don't have time, and that is not the purpose here. Now, if you have got quick questions, we can have here, small interaction. Maybe 1 or 2 questions we can entertain. Is it possible?
Please.
1 or 2 questions only now. Otherwise, it may be very boring. Then more questions we can take up at the end of the program.
Rohan, please check the chat box.
1 or 2 questions. Otherwise, we will go ahead.
Yes, sir. Currently, there are no questions, so we can proceed.
Okay, we will go ahead. Thank you. We'll go ahead.
Okay, sir.
I will get into scientific process. As I told now, science is based on scientific process. You build knowledge using scientific process. So we'll go a little time on this scientific process. Many of you know, senior people know it. Students may be more interested. Can anybody tell what is scientific process? We'll skip this slide because this is meant for students only. Other people know it already. So I will tell you a simple process for simple scientific process. It's a process of converting observations into principles or laws or theories or theorems using controlled and scientific testing. It's the simplest definition I have got. There are many more definitions, and the testing it is coming, it is very, very clear. It has to be repeatable test. You do one test, that doesn't make a law. You have to repeat it. It should be repeatable, reproducible anywhere, anytime, under a defined conditions, environment, definitely. And should be controlled experiments. There should be a controlled sample and observation sample. Then you should go on experiments and testing. This is the process. The simple way of defining what is the scientific process. You see, Ramat petrol, sometime it was very, very popular. It hit all TVs and newspapers. This problem was there, no? Many of you may be knowing it was very popular. It was that was a boy from a village in Tamil Nadu somewhere, I think, it was put to various people, and I think it went up to Dr. Kalam, who was at that time DRDO chief or something, and an expert advisor to government on science and technology. Even it had to go to even Kalam and his committee, expert committee. Under him, he appointed a committee. They also requested this person to come and test it there. Unfortunately, he could not do that test successfully in that in front of that committee. So finally, still I don't know whether it is science or pseudoscience, but if you cannot repeat it anywhere, given conditions and environment, then we can consider it is not science. Science, test and experience shall be repeatable, reproducible anywhere in the world with the given environment, definitely. Environment should be controlled. It is provided equipments, what is required given, then it should be reproducible. Then you will give a small process chart, or as engineers and managers know how to put it in a flow chart form. It will be simpler to understand. You start with an open mind. That is, I told first, open mind. We should have an open mind. We should not go with a closed mind or some fixed views. If you have some fixed views before doing a scientific process, we are out. We should not have that. We should not any fixed ideas before starting a scientific process. You should have an open mind. Then you start observing, you start questioning, trying to get answers. Here you use definitely do a lot of background research. You have to do a lot of creative thinking you have to do. Then after doing all these observations and theoretical studies, then you should form a hypothesis. This is likely to the reason for that, or this is the way it is working. You make a hypothesis. And here the next important step, all scientists know, we should form a null hypothesis. This is the important step. This is where pseudoscience many times fails. You have to make a null hypothesis. Is very important in a scientific process, scientific method. And you make a null hypothesis and then try to prove that is wrong. Is it right or wrong? Don't try to prove hypothesis right or wrong. It will mislead us. You have to make a null hypothesis and try to prove it is right or wrong. If it is wrong, your hypothesis is right. That is the logic all of us know. Here a lot of critical thinking is required, a lot of experimentation is required, a lot of reviews are required, criticism is required. Our mind should be open for all these things. It's called another way, call it a falsification process. And a simple experiment, that experts tell, what is the color of the swan? If you ask, most of us, even I was believing color of swan is white. I was considering all swans are white. But that is the hypothesis. You see swans in our place, familiar color is only white. So we make a hypothesis that all swans are white. It's a simple method of making hypothesis. Then you look for swans, you will see all white swans only. But if you make a null hypothesis that there are swans which are different color, that is null hypothesis. Then you search everywhere. Then what will happen? Your horizon will widen. You will search all over the world. Then you go to other part of the world, you will find different type of swans. See, in Canada, I think US also, there are black swans. It is swan, but it's pure black in color, except it's big. Big is somewhat yellowish red. So this is how do the scientific process of experimentation. You make hypothesis, then make null hypothesis, then try to find out truth behind the null hypothesis, whether right or wrong. This is the way we go ahead. Then you conduct experiments on the null, based on null hypothesis, do experiments. Then this result will be scientific. You do controlled tests, scientific method. Then you will get results. You get the results, analyze the results, review it, criticize it, debate it. Then you go for approval. There will be some approval bodies are there for the scientific area. In different medicine, there is another approval body. Engineering, there are approval bodies. Every branch, it is a different approval bodies are there. You get through that, then it becomes scientific output. If you don't do this, you are going to get into pseudoscience. This is the simple scientific process. Sorry, I will take a little more time than required. Maybe students may be interested in this. Now, even if Isaac Newton comes, you can ask him, you reproduce your experiments now. Don't believe it. He has invented, our gravity laws, maybe I don't know how many years back, a long time back. Now somebody asks, repeat the experiment. Scientists are responsible for repeating and showing that it still works. So maybe 50 years or 100 years back it was working. Is it working today? You can ask. Then as scientists, we are bound to reproduce the experiment, redo the experiment and prove it. That is the spirit of science, and that is the spiritual, the spirit of science. We should not tell, it has been done 100 years, we have proved. So don't ask us questions. That type of view is not science. I'll show an example in allopathy medicines. I am not a pharmacist or a person in medical field, but I got the information in one of the conference in Canada from one of the big research lab. Managing director were presenting this, how allopathy medicines are tested and approval. India, I don't know what is happening. I think India also follows this system. So you see various stages of testing is development of medicine is shown here. In the left side, first starts with theory, theoretical models. There are conceptual models are there, and mathematical models are there. Now even softwares and computer models are used now for developing medicines and molecules and various formulations. Then study goes on. This usually takes 6 months. In this stage, they're telling almost 100% will be approved. There is no much concern. It is only theoretical computer study. No persons are affected. Then they get into next stage, preclinical tests. So laboratory tests, animals experimentation, then bioaction and safety things are studied. These days, experts say it takes almost 2 years. And here, this stage also maybe 80% gets cleared. This is the first stage approval. They go for that. Some many medical field people are here. Maybe discussion time they can throw more light on these aspects. I have giving only very simple view on this. So then it goes for first stage approval. Then they go for first phase, second phase, and third phase of the experiment. The very serious stage of testing. First they take more than 100 volunteers, healthy volunteers. They apply the medication and see the safety, what dosage you can give, whether they are getting into problem. This study usually takes 3 years. That is the information I got from him. And in this stage also 70% are cleared. In statistics, almost 70% gets cleared here. The next phase goes for more than 200 patients, 200 to 1,000 patients, volunteers, definitely volunteers only. You cannot apply this medicine to any patient. It should be volunteers with an agreement signed and compensation given to such volunteers. Very big compensation you give to volunteers. And here, effectiveness and side effects both are studied in medicine. Due to that medicine, this study takes almost 5 years. Then this stage is cleared only generally 33% of medicines only gets cleared in this stage. Then goes for the phase 3 or final test as far as experimentation is concerned. Here more than 3,000. 3,000 is bare minimum. Usually they test for 10,000, 20,000 patients they test. Again, volunteers, effectiveness, long-term side effects, long-term effects, side effects, they studied. This whole study, total study takes around 8 years. That is that expert told in the seminar. This stage almost 27% medicines only will be cleared. All other things will be cleared out. It will be screened out. That is the process. Then it goes for a final review and approval of the federal agency in US and Canada. In India also there are equivalent authorities are there. This is the process. Here only COVID, there are some concern, which takes 8 to 10 years to develop a medicine. A vaccine is made within 1 year. So there are definitely concerns, there are doubts. It is all genuine doubts and concerns, but we have no alternative. You have to go ahead with that. Anyway, we will not get into that part. That is not the purpose of the session. But this is I'm giving the importance of experimentation in modern scientific process. That much care we have to take. In aerospace also, we do very rigorous testing. We don't launch a rocket or a satellite without experimentation. We do thousands of tests, thousands of experimentation, repeated experiment, then only aerospace also work. Any branch of science do that. So this is the scientific process and the scientific method. Now coming to the medicine field, I want to show some information I got recently. The average age life, it's called life expectancy in years. All medical doctors know, all senior people also know it. What was the pattern in India? If the history is there, 1,800 year 1,800 onwards to 2020 data is given in the literature. It was 1,800 year, it was around 25 years is the average life of Indians expected. And it goes up to, you can see, up to 1920. The situation is not much different. There are certain fluctuations, but more or less 25 it goes. About 1930 onward, there is a gradual and steady increase in the life expectancy. Now it is above 60. That is my information. Above 60 is the current age. So medical doctor can tell during discussion exact age, life expectancy today, Indians today. It is gradually and steadily improving. And what is the reason for that? See, there are number of reasons may be there, but I find in literature two things are coming very important. One is the development of vaccines and development of antibiotics. These are the two things I could correlate. There may be definitely other reasons also may be there. Hygiene may be there, the maybe standard of living, quality of life, many things may be there. It is not one or two items there, but that complication will not get now. One thing we can quickly observe is the development of number of antibiotics, number of vaccines. Definitely it is correlatable. So definitely our medical side doctors can definitely throw some light during the discussion time on this, and which any other factors are there, experts can tell during discussion. So we will go ahead. Now here are there, you can see long time back what was the medical system we can there. We will not have spent much time here, just have a glance, that's all. See how medical science is improving year by year, and how this is affecting our life expectancy and health or quality of life we are leading. Goes on. Every year new additions are coming. And the latest thing they are telling, 2010 to 20, now they are getting into artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics. Trivandrum itself, I think 1 or 2 hospitals are having robotic surgery itself. So the science is advancing in medical field also. Any other field, I'm not talking because of medicine, only thing we cannot talk about everything today. Also the artificial organs development, artificial intelligence, all are used currently in the medical field. I attended a number of seminars in Canada recently. Last 3 years I am attending, mainly on artificial intelligence, how they are using here, machine learning, how they use robotics, how they use. The tremendous work is being done. Good seminars also taking place here. I think Trivandrum also a number of seminars are happening, but without doctors, I don't know who else will be attending. So the engineering medicine has to merge. So many data scientists, knowledge workers, engineers are working in the hospitals, the R&D facilities in the hospitals here. India also, I think it is happening. So Trivandrum, I don't know what is the situation now. Something is happening, but the engineers has to get into that and accelerate this activity. That is what I am telling. IT is only not limited in InfoPark or Technopark. It should not be limited. It should get into more into medicine and many other fields. So we'll see century wise now, 19th century, 20th century, 21st century, how the vaccine development is going on. It's not full list. I am giving only immediate materials I could collect. These are the various vaccines in 19th century. 20th century, you can see big chunk of vaccines have come, and the 21st century more are coming. And the COVID-19, 1 year we have developed the vaccine, whether it is fully effective or not is debatable, but something has come out within 1 year. It is a big challenge. So future, these are the things what people are predicting, the type of vaccine which are under research, which will come out, including HIV. They expect it will come soon. So I am not a medical expert. I am giving some example, one simple example of science. There are many other fields, similar developments are taking place. That is fine. We have to study all these things, especially students. Now you see microscope, as I told, there are different spectrum of microscopes are there, shown, optical microscope, 1620, year 1620 onwards it is there. We are able to see the cells and bacteria we are able to see. When you have to see the virus, etc., you have to get into electron microscope, as a scanning and transmission electron microscope. And currently, as I told, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, machine learning, and robotics, these things are coming into medicine development, medical field. So engineers are going to get more involved in medicine also, in addition to other fields. Now here, this slide I want to spend little time, because one of my session, one psychology doctor told, she is confused with pseudoscience and science, and she is thinking of stopping her practice. She is getting so much confused. So this literature I collected related to that, so that this seminar I am presenting, if you put in a scale, knowledge, the x-axis shows the theoretical understanding, theoretical knowledge. how is your theoretical understanding, theoretical knowledge on a field. And the vertical axis shows the empirical knowledge, experimentation knowledge. If you put these two things in a graphical form, you will get various things. How it comes, the literature I shows this. Probably during discussion, our experts can put more input to this. Unknowns are there. We don't know many things. It is a fact. Whatever we say, definitely scientific process, our knowledge of human society, everything is there, but the unknown parts are still very, very large. So we have to study. Future, we will know more things, but it is a big chunk is unknown things. So there, experimental knowledge is very less, theoretical knowledge is less. Now comes the pseudoscience. That is the borderline between unknowns and more knowns, comes in the borderline. So that is why it is very difficult to define what is pseudoscience and what is not pseudoscience. It's a gray area. Some may be unknowns, some may be really science also. So we have to find out through testing. Now you see, psychology, sociology, economics, there is empirical knowledge. You can observe, you can see certain things, certain patterns. But the problem is that theoretical knowledge is less. These are the topics they are telling. This is one area. Then you see some of the topics are, your theoretical understanding is good, but experimental knowledge is less, because certain things difficult to experiment. Historical data, how you will experiment it, very difficult. So scientific history or any part of the history, you cannot test it and find out. It is recorded somewhere. It is some are transmitted through verbal forms, the cultural aspects. These are areas you can observe it, but you cannot really test it. Evolutionary psychology is a string physics. These are all theoretical understanding is there, but experimentation part is difficult, so it is weak. But coming to other type of branches, it is both theoretical and experimental data is available, so it is more reliable. You can use it with a little more confidence. That is why particle physics, and as you know, coming to physics, maths, chemistry, we know is repeatable anytime, anywhere. It's very simple. It's very simple, so it is repeatable, reproducible, testable. So that is the advantage of these topics. So this is the spectrum. So when you talk about science or pseudoscience, something we don't know, people should not get confused. Here, medical science, I could not get where to place it. In the discussion time, maybe some of our expert, Dr. Venugopal, also can throw some light, where medical field comes in this graph. In fact, he talked to me 2 days back, gave me a lot of tips on how I should conduct this session today. I am using some of his techniques. Thank you, sir. We will go ahead. Now, aerospace comes somewhere here. As you know, there are some people from aerospace also here. So what we do, certain areas of knowledge we have theoretical understanding is good. There we will be doing less number of tests. Whereas there are areas our theoretical understanding is less. There we are increasing the number of tests. This is the way we manage. Maybe many scientific fields are doing here. Wherever theoretical understanding is very, very sound, you can manage with a less number of tests. Whereas every theoretical understanding is little less, you have to do large number of tests and prove that it will work. So this is the way we should go. And another aspect of science, we should not tell whatever is unknown to us, we should not disrespect. Science should always respect the unknown. There is something, whatever be our expertise we have, definitely there are some part we don't know. We should respect it. And pseudoscience, what happened many times, they believes and worships in the unknown. This is one expert has told, but I could not get his name. So pseudoscience, we have to be very careful, because you don't try to believe or worship unknown. You respect it, respect the unknown. There is something which you don't know, then search for that. That is the scientific mindset. Search for that, find out, do experimentation. Don't believe or start worshipping without testing and experimentation. That is the very simple way to distinguish between science and pseudoscience. Very simple thing, but I could not get who told that. I forgot that who told that. Then understand, respect the unknowns, as I told him, but respect those who say I don't know. See, this is one problem I find in Kerala. People refuse to tell I don't know. That word they don't want to use. But I know very good people also, they They use this word very frequently. I respect them. Even if you go on road, if you want a location to somebody, he may not be knowing, but he will not tell that I don't know that location. He will show you somewhere, but it may be wrong. So some people are having that type of bad culture. They will never tell I don't know where. They think it is something it is not to their dignity. So we should start respecting people who telling I don't know, and we should tell I don't know when we don't know anything, something. Now, science, I told so many big things, but this is one problem coming in science also. You may be knowing there are a number of problems in science also. I am not telling that there is no problem in science. This cartoon explains that, you're totally free to carry out whatever research you want, as long as you come to these conclusions. Sometimes this situation happens in scientific laboratories, in institutions. There may be good sponsors to program. They may give you crores. Then one will be persuaded to dilute the scientific process. They may get into unethical practices. So all scientists should be very careful about this. It's very difficult to manage it. Who are working in science and who are going to work in science in future, this cartoon, you please remember, we have to be very vigilant. We have to be very ethical. So here also, I think we will not wait for questions. We will take up all questions in the end because time is very difficult. Now we get into what is pseudoscience. Skip the question. The first quote I got on this, the simplest thing and attractive to me is this: the willingness to believe, even against evidences. Even if the evidences are against it, you try to believe it. Fuels all pseudoscience. This is the basic mindset. If you try to believe something which we don't know, or if even evidences are against that, you still believe it, then this is pseudoscience. This is the simplest definition I got on that. Fortunately, I got the person's name who told that. So somebody can study, people who are interested, you can note this author's name and study about his books later. It may be very, very informative to you. So it's a keyword according to me, how to distinguish one immediately, how to distinguish between science and pseudoscience. And some more definitions are there, classical definitions are there. Pseudoscience consists of statements, beliefs, practices that claim to be both scientific and factual, but are actually incompatible with the scientific process. They do not follow systematically the scientific process. They may skip one of the steps, or they may do one of the steps wrongly, especially experimentation. Many times, you do experiment wrongly, either wrong sample number or wrong type of sample. The statistical sampling plan, if it is wrong, your whole thing will be out. So students, those who work in that field, should be more and more careful. We should not get into wrong type of testing. So the proper scientific method, we should learn and use it. There is another definition I got it. Pseudoscience is a catch-all term encompassing topics that blur the line between legitimate and unfounded knowledge. And that graph, it was very clear now. Pseudoscience between unknown and more known things. So it's very difficult to demarcate that line. Still, there's one thing what you can look for that. Pseudoscience makes mistakes in one or more steps of the scientific process. Another key way to check it. Some people do it unknowingly, inadvertently. Some people do it purposefully with a business motive, or a money-minded people do deliberately. They make the mistakes in the scientific process. But some people do it without their own knowledge. By mistake, they do it. That we can pardon. But those who are doing deliberately, very, very dangerous. We should be careful. We should be vigilant for our own safety. Now, some of the literature I have gone through, this list I have given here, many more lists are available on pseudoscience. You see the number will be alarming. See, health and medicine, this is the field with the maximum number of pseudosciences. I got it. This field is flourishing in pseudoscience. So we have to be careful. Whatever medical advice we get through social media, we have to be very, very careful. That is why reason I gave some examples related to medicine. Otherwise, I have no knowledge or relation to medicine. Because of this data only, I told some examples on virus and virus data, life expectancy, etc. Because of this fact, largest number of pseudoscience is spreading in medical field, health field. Then psychology. I told you one psychology doctor himself raised a concern in my lecture. He is confused between science and pseudoscience. So she is finding difficult to practice herself. Then there are paranormal, no? You see miracle things happening many places, paranormal, abnormal things, miracles, miracle materials, miracle medicine, so many things are there. And aerospace also not exception. I found more than 15 pseudoscience topics running around in aerospace field itself. Physics, it is there. Religion, spiritual, also plenty. 10 maybe very less number. My data may be wrong. Religion, spiritual, I think there is maybe equivalent to health and medicine. Then earth sciences, based on earth science, there are a number of pseudoscience, different fields. You take any field, there is list. You go through this literature. If you want, you take a screenshot. Those who are interested can study. The big list is there, more than hundreds and hundreds of fields are there. So this, I think this slide, I will some of the there are science and pseudoscience topics mixed up. If you are keen on that, you can detect what is science and pseudoscience. You take a screenshot of this. You can take this as a homework. Old people, I don't want to take homework, give homework, but students can take a screenshot of this. Later, find out what all things in this is science and pseudoscience. And this is another thing. Cartoon. This brings out, the confusion, how confusion can come between science and pseudoscience. Scientists may be sincerely working, dedicated, hard work they do and bring out some result. But some people may add little bit masala into that, convert it into pseudoscience. So they add misinformation to that. So this is probably what is happening every time in our history. So we have to, now it is more, we have to be very careful. Now, as I indicated, the pseudoscience process, I told, most of the time, scientific process and pseudoscience process, most of the pseudoscience picks up from hypothesis. You make some observations are there, you observe something, you find something is working some way, we form in our mind a hypothesis. They don't try to make a null hypothesis. They jump into experimentation or confirmation. You look for only pleasing data, unpleasing data, contradicting data, somehow our brain will screen out. That is our human nature. Unless you form a null hypothesis, you are likely to get trapped into the limited tests, and results will be limited, conclusions will be made fast, and they will start practicing fast. This is one trap. How you, even if you try to follow scientific processes, some people jump into this and get into that trap unknowingly. Many people get into it unknowingly. Few people do it purposefully. So you have to be vigilant. So output will be naturally pseudoscience. Now there are a list of indicators are there to this. How to distinguish between science and pseudoscience. So one science, always willing to change. If you get more evidences, you are ready to revise our theory or come with more conclusions, different conclusions. Whereas pseudoscience, frozen ideas, they don't accept more tests and the changes are not accepted. Peer reviews, critical reviews are done in science. Complementary supporting reviews only will be done in pseudoscience. These are the general way how these things are getting differentiated. New findings usually not accepted in pseudoscience. Criticism in pseudoscience is considered as a conspiracy. They will tell, no, you are having some other spirit. So criticism, you criticize anybody pseudoscientist, they will get upset. Usually you can see. And results will be usually in pseudoscience non-repeatable. You ask in a controlled place in a laboratory with experts, then it may not work. So this is, then if you do large number of testing, then a difference may come out. These are some of the differences between science and pseudoscience. And last one, coming to the last one, you have to use statistically correct sampling plan, correct sampling number, minimum sampling number, sample number, then only it will be right. Whereas pseudoscience, either you do a wrong sampling plan unknowingly or unknowingly, or use statistically wrong numbers for testing, you will get into pseudoscience. So the difference between science and pseudoscience is not much different. So we have to be very vigilant. There are many more indicators are there for pseudoscience. The first thing is that somebody tells something, even a expert tells something, the person hearing, he may misunderstand. Then he may tell to another person. Then that person may tell to another. So sometimes even if a professional advice given by a professional, it ultimately may get converted into pseudoscience. There is a possibility. So we have to be very careful. Even experts, when you tell something, those who are listening, those who are telling, both have to be very careful. Otherwise, expert's view itself may get distorted into a pseudoscience possibility. Then interpret. See, you hear something, you heard full thing, but we understand and interpret it. We may wrongly interpret. Then also we get into pseudoscience, and you can misrepresent. You heard and understood, but you tell to somebody, our communication skill is poor. We may tell something different. That person will understand something differently. That is miscommunication. You communicate knowingly, unknowingly, what is not in your mind. Even my lecture, that may happen. I would have communicated to something which may not be actually in my mind by mistake. So if anything you notice there, you please tell me in the discussion time. I will correct myself. Then misinformation is purposefully somebody want to distort things and present. That is a misinformation. Then a wrong context to use. It is happened in somewhere in some other context. You put into a different context, a wrong sequence, order of activity. You mix up the sequence. You can get a wrong picture of the whole thing. See, many oratory speeches do that. They may tell things in a different sequence so that a lie may look like truth, a truth may look like a lie also. These are possible with experts, pseudo experts, not real experts will not do that. Then wrong place. See, a simple example, wrong place. Suppose you develop a vaccine in America. It is very successful. They have done all the experiments. Then you want to bring it in India. You administer in India. It may not work because we are having a different environment. We are having different race. Our body responses may be different from Americans. So if something worked in America, we should not believe that it will work here in India. So you should do additional experimentation in India before putting a vaccine or even a medicine in India. We should not blindly do it. So place has got an effect. And wrong time. Suppose we say, 200 years, some theory is there, we are working very well. But don't assume that today, after 200 years also, it works here, because our environment is different, our body is different, biotic responses are different, our immune system is different. So periodically we have to test it. Don't tell something worked 200 years back perfectly well, today also it will work, and another 1,000 years future also it will work. Don't make such conclusion. You have to make a extrapolation to some extent, but don't make wild extrapolation. There are many other factors, we don't have time to get into that. Wrong environment. Using a method in a wrong environment is another problem, already indicated. So you can see our test with this information. You can check our newspaper, TV channel, social media, you screen it. Then it will be more and more clear what is science and pseudoscience. And we have to be very vigilant. Another cartoon recently I found, two persons, it looks like one is devil, one is angel. I was just checking your records. Dr. XYZ is telling, you have 3 PhD in the most popular pseudosciences. This is also happening now. There are even doctorates available in pseudoscience. So we have to be more and vigilant. So this is the same graph. I will skip this. This is a repetition. Now we will wonder, science and pseudoscience, how it interacts, whether some of the pseudoscience we can get into science or some science can get into pseudoscience. This is a pictorially I will tell. It is very simple. In my lecture, indicated points for this, but this may be simpler for you to understand. This pseudoscience, you consider something is going on. You subject to a scientific control testing process, and you find it is successful. Then it becomes automatically science. But a pseudoscience topic, you do scientific testing, control testing, it fails, then it comes back as pseudoscience. So this is what you have to do actually in future in many things. Many things people telling pseudoscience, don't leave it. I will tell you, somebody should take it up. do scientific experimentation and do it. If you find it is truthful, it is standing that scientific process testing, you accept the science, get it approved by a forum. Many things are there like that. Even in Ayurveda, myself I have experienced certain things. I felt, I told to the doctors, why don't you take it as a research? They are not interested. They are very busy, you know. So because maybe number of patients in Kerala, India is very high, doctors have downtime. I myself personally observed certain observations, you know. I have got some benefit. I told doctors they don't have time. Maybe discussion time will take such points if you are interested. You also may have similar experience. Similarly, science
time
also.
has been exceeded.
Okay, it is almost over. We'll close
It's
it.
wind up in another 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, 5 minutes
Thank
it
you.
will be over. So pseudoscience also, science also this can happen. Suppose you don't repeat these experiments 100 years, 200 years, the science aspects can become into pseudoscience. But here another good example for us is in the Chinese traditional medicine. One lady was given Nobel Prize in 2015. She took some their what you call, you know, traditional medicine, found it is working there, anti-malarial drug. But she went to a laboratory, did a systematic scientific test on that drug, found it has been found effective. Now it is part of allopathy treatment, medical treatment. This is a herb in the Chinese tradition. Now she got Nobel Prize for doing that work. Maybe India, we have got lot of scope in Ayurveda, Homeo, etc. We should do, she is a model, I will tell you, for India or maybe many other countries. Our traditional system of medicine or traditional science, we should subject to the scientific method experimentation and bring to the world. That is what is required. So here Albert Einstein's quote is given here. I need not read it. It is very simple. Never stop questioning. If somebody is asking question, don't silence him. You should encourage questions. And this is the cartoon I got because I have got my own life experience. Many people, my own friends and relatives, few people have died just by blindly following pseudoscience. And some people are very, very sick also. So that I have added this cartoon. It's only not only cartoon, I have got life experience, number of people getting into this problem. Now we'll rewind it. This is what I have covered. What is science, first part? What is pseudoscience, second part? Now I am coming to the end. Now we can get into question answer first, then have a discussion. Maybe people are tired of listening me. So I will hand over to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can Rahul or somebody check the chat box and convey to
Okay, sir.
the speaker? Yeah, Rahul, please.
Okay, sir. Let me check the chat box.
Can I share some
sir,
thoughts?
okay.
Can I share some thoughts? Dr. Venugopal.
Yeah, sure, you can, but you should not take more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, just 2 minutes. Okay. I'm a modern medicine doctor. I've been practicing medicine for more than 45 years. And now modern medicine has become more and more pseudoscience. And I'll explain here. And Mr. Francis was saying that is a blindly, that is willingness to accept certain claims against evidence. And a very example, since he mentioned about the COVID vaccination, I developed it within 1 year. And then they claim CDC, WHO, all these forums, 2 doses, it will prevent the spread. That is the claim. That invalidate, discredit you. 2 doses, it will protect you from getting COVID. That's discredited. 70% fully vaccinated population, herd immunity. Unvaccinated, protection. That's discredited. Till 85% fully vaccinated, still COVID is there. Then no deaths or no hospitalization if you are fully vaccinated. So pseudoscience aggressively pharma industry misinformation and media, mainstream media, social media, and many of you are not aware. This COVID vaccine adverse reaction in Mercury. complications. Right from the beginning, I have been saying that this vaccine is not going to prevent, this is not going to protect. I'm not against all vaccines. Smallpox eradicated. Smallpox. Polio vaccine. So I support certain vaccinations. But flu vaccination as well as COVID vaccination is a random illusion. It's a false claim. Pseudoscience. Pharma industry and independent. So, so this has become pseudoscience, medicine field for your information. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nahan's question. Can you check the chat box or I'll do it myself?
Okay, I'll do it, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
this was a question from Ravindranath sir itself. In that case, is homeopathy science or pseudoscience? How about Ayurveda and other ISMs supported by Ayush and Government of India?
No, I told in the beginning itself, I will not make any comment on some topic is science or pseudoscience. That is not the purpose of this. I am only trying to empower all people to distinguish yourself by using these approaches, scientific approach, understanding scientific approach, how to do it. So I will not answer this question. And I am not an expert in neither Ayurveda nor allopathy or Ayurveda. But there are potential, both agree with both Ayurveda and Homeo or Ayush. So very potential is there. But use it by properly applying scientific method. That is what I request you. That is why I gave the example of the Chinese lady who has got the Nobel Prize itself. Many Indians can get Nobel Prize. Only thing we have to work in that direction.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think the next question is from Ravindranathan. I think it's more like a statement than a question. With improvement in the medical field, the patient is kept alive with medicines and processes, even after knowing he or she is not worth living.
Okay, it is maybe right. No comment. It stands as such. I don't reply to that. I am telling any field there are ethical and unethical practices. So we really don't know who is doing ethical, who is doing unethical. Every field it is there. And some may be human considerations. Maybe economic aspects also is there. A minister is there, if he is sick, he may live longer time. If a common people like go to a ventilator, we may live for maybe 1 week or 1 month. But if a minister goes there, probably he may live longer time. So these things I am not able to tell. I am not an expert.
Okay, sir. Next question is from Narayanan Nair. Sir, please indicate if any legal steps can be initiated by a person who propagates pseudoscience in any fields.
No, I don't know. It may be difficult to take legal action. It's very tricky things. If it is recorded, there are Indian laws available to prevent such things. But putting a person to court may be a little tricky. Of course, I am not a legal expert. Any legal expert is there, he can respond. Or a doctor, Dr. Venugopal. What is your view, sir? If any legal expert is there, you can also tell. No response is coming. So can please go to the next question. I will not be able to answer that question.
Okay, the next I think it's a statement. Astrology is one kind of subject where they say it is based on planetary positions and their traverse, which a layman cannot understand since they are woven with coincidences. Even in a book written by Chiro, if I am correct, are done with the findings of similar categories of specimens. I think this is a statement.
Yeah. Okay, statements. I think.
Yes, I just yeah. Actually, Actually, one incident, one discussion, some people of Athis and other people were discussing about, they were discussing about permanent train accidents.
Okay,
You
okay.
hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And one astrologer told, then one atheist asked, why so many people died at same spot, same time? How it is possible if astrology is correct? Then one astrologer was saying,
Yes.
see, the person who did not ascend
Go
the
ahead.
train, who did it, they are
No,
not
Richard.
destined for their.
Do it.
അത് അവർ മരിക്കാനുള്ള സമയമായിട്ടില്ല, അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവര് ഒന്നീ അവര് ട്രെയിൻ മിസ് ചെയ്തത് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ബുക്ക് ചെയ്തില്ല എന്നുള്ള കാരണം. അതൊന്നും നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനെ ഏക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല.
I will not classify anything, but that is not the purpose of
I don't. I just given us a statement.
Astronomy. There are two things: astronomy and astrology. Two are there. No? The experts say astronomy is based on science. Astrology is not based on science. But I will not be able to answer. Maybe different views may be there.
Okay.
If you can do more experiments, you can do more experiments in that field. Maybe how many samples are required, we have to find out. Maybe 10,000 samples you can test. You see how many are becoming right or how many are getting wrong.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Okay, one more
Somebody
question.
is unmuting their audio and creating a lot of noise.
Yes.
Please, we are going to wind up. Please be patient enough. Thank you.
Okay, one final
I think
question.
if there are no more questions, we can wind up. It's already late.
So there's one more question. Question.
Yeah.
Okay, the so-called scientific process itself is questionable, right? It's a question.
Yes, anything you can question, definitely.
In fact, that question is mine. Thank you.
Okay.
N. Panikar.
Okay, sir. Please tell.
Thank you. Enjoyed your presentation. Excellent presentation. Thank you very much for enlightening us. But the biggest problem today is the so-called scientific process, and all the things that are doing. They are like they are doing things, but they are really not scientific, and then come to conclusions that suit them. And Dr. Venugopal Reddy has really pointed out one specific case. And I think that's those who want to conclude a certain thing to their interest, they make so-called scientific process. All the procedures are right, but the common sense is not there. So that is what is happening. So you cannot just say certain scientific branches are pseudosciences. Actually, we should really look at the unscientific approach that is really creeping into everything here. In the so-called modern science, modern medicine, all these things, really, I'm very, very sorry to see this, that they go through all the procedures correctly, mathematical, statistical, and all kinds of things like that. But the conclusion is entirely wrong. It doesn't actually match the common sense. And so sensible approach and non-sensible approach is probably a better way of thinking. I don't know how to do that. Please advise.
You are right. It's a real challenge there. There are number of contradicting forces acting on scientists. I did not want to touch on that. One is definitely economy. Then who are your sponsors and who are your lab sponsors? These are all influences. And what public want, what politician want, what government wants, the social pressure. Different pressures are there. Science is not simple, and a person has to be very, very ethical, and it should be very difficult for scientists, true scientists, to survive also. Maybe some people are yielding to pressures, one aspect. Another dangerous problem is that, sir, you are very correct. People who are not fit for to be a scientist, either by skill wise, intelligence wise, or knowledge wise, you put such people into such positions, then definitely things will be compromised. So whatever scientific process you put it, you can spoil it. You're very correct, sir. You're very, I don't know, you should interact with other forums and how to make it work. It is a real challenge. We don't know how to fight it. I think you have got 1 or 2 forums where you are working, sir. Whether we can use that for fighting
Okay,
against
we'll do that.
misuse of
to do that.
scientific
Thank
process.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I won't take more than 1 minute. Iver renduverum ennan Panikar sir Francis team paranja karanana idu share cheyyunnathu. I must share this one. Otherwise, I won't be doing justice to myself. അതേ തന്നെ കാണിച്ചു, ഫ്രാൻസിസ് കാണിച്ചു. അതായത് NIH കൺക്ലൂഷൻ എല്ലാം നേരത്തെ തന്നെ ഫണ്ടിങ്ങിൽ ഇതായിരിക്കണം, അവസാനം കൺക്ലൂഷൻ ഇതായിരിക്കണം. യു ഡു ദി റിസർച്ച്, ബട്ട് വി വാണ്ട് ദിസ് വൺ. ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഇവിടുത്തെ മെഡിക്കൽ ജേർണൽസിൽ ലോങ് ടൈം ബാക്ക് ഐ യൂസ് ടു ബ്ലൈൻഡ്ലി ബിലീവ്. ഇവിടെ സയന്റിഫിക് ഓണസ്റ്റി ഒട്ടുമില്ല. ഇവിടുത്തെ ഏറ്റവും ലീഡിംഗ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ലാൻഡ്സെറ്റ്, ന്യൂ ഇംഗ്ലണ്ട് ജേർണൽ ഓഫ് മെഡിസിൻ എല്ലാം വന്നിട്ട് മിക്കതും കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഇതിനെ എല്ലാം ഈ ഫാർമ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രി, ഫോർ യുവർ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ, FDA, ഫെഡറൽ ഡ്രഗ് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ, അവരുടെ 45% ഓഫ് അവരുടെ ബഡ്ജറ്റ് അവരുടെ ഇതെല്ലാം കിട്ടുന്നത് ഫ്രം ദി ഫാർമ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രി. ദെൻ ഹൗ ക്യാൻ യു എക്സ്പെക്ട് ദം ടു ബി ഇംപാർഷ്യൽ? WHO തന്നെ പ്രൈവറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ബിൽ ഗേറ്റ്സ് ആൻഡ് അതർ ഫൗണ്ടേഷൻ എല്ലാവരുമാണ് അവർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പിന്നെ ഹൗ ക്യാൻ യു എക്സ്പെക്ട് ദം ടു ബി ഇംപാർഷ്യൽ? അത് കാരണം ഇതെല്ലാം വന്നിട്ട് കംപ്ലീറ്റ് കള്ളം കള്ളം കള്ളം. നിങ്ങളെ പ്രൊട്ടക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല. അതേപോലെ വേറൊരാളുണ്ട്, ഇനി ഈ കോൺടസ്റ്റ് ഞാൻ പറയാണ്, പേര് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നില്ല, നമ്മുടെ ബാംഗ്ലൂരുള്ള ഒരു കാർഡിയോളജിസ്റ്റ്. പുള്ളി പറയുന്നത് വന്നിട്ട് മിക്സ്ചർ ഓഫ് ഫാക്ട് ആൻഡ് ഫിക്ഷൻ. പുള്ളിയും വന്നിട്ട് പറയുന്നത് ബ്ലൈൻഡ് ആയിട്ട് വിശ്വസിക്കരുത്, ബ്ലൈൻഡ് ആയിട്ട് വിശ്വസിക്കരുത്. പുള്ളി മോഡേൺ മെഡിസിൻ പേഴ്സൺ ആണ്. പുള്ളി കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ചെളിവാരി എഴുതി പറയുന്നത് എല്ലാം ശരിയല്ല. അതും ഫേക്ക് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ, സോഷ്യൽ മീഡിയയിൽ എല്ലാം കൂടെ സ്യൂഡോ സയൻസ് ആണ് പുള്ളിയും പറയുന്നത്. ഇത്രയും കാര്യം ഞാൻ പറയുകയാണ്. സോ പ്ലീസ് ബി മോർ വിജിലന്റ്. ഞാൻ ഒരു ഡോസ് പോലും വാക്സിൻ എടുക്കാത്തവനാണ്. ഞാൻ ഒരു ഡോസ് പോലും വാക്സിൻ എടുത്തിട്ടില്ല. 2.5 കൊല്ലമായി. ലോകത്ത് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ കോവിഡ് കേസ് റിപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്തത് ഈ രാജ്യത്താണ്, കൂടുതൽ മരണമുള്ളത് ഈ രാജ്യത്താണ്. എടുക്കാത്തതുകൊണ്ടാണ് എനിക്ക് ഹാവ് ദി മോറൽ കറേജ് ടു സേ. ഞാൻ അന്ന് പറഞ്ഞത് അത് വാലിഡേറ്റ് ചെയ്തു. ഞാൻ റൈറ്റ് ഫ്രോം ദി ബിഗിനിങ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് എന്നെ വാലിഡേറ്റ് ചെയ്തു ദി സബ്സിക്വന്റ് ഈവന്റ്സ്. എന്നാലും ജനം വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നില്ല. ഐസക് ആസിമോവ് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ willingness to accept things against evidence. അതാണ് ഇപ്പൊ കാണുന്നത്. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's time to wind up. Anyway, we will have more discussions later. Thanks, Dr. Panikar, Dr. Venugopal Reddy, and Francis Joseph for handling the crowd so kindly, even in a very distant place. I also thank all the, now I ask the student team to share the plan for next talk. Talk we are planning as a physical mode talk at Institute of Engineering is hot. Thanks for your patience. And we'll have a slide photo session where all are requested to unmute their video, their audio.
Okay, now I invite Neha to give the vote of thanks.
A warm good evening to one and all. Moving on to my assigned duty, firstly, I thank our guest of honor of today's session, respected Francis E.J. Sir, for giving us a wonderful talk. Thank you, sir. I'd also like to thank respected Dr. K.C. Ravinathan Sir for his constant support and guidance. Thank you, sir. Last but not least, I thank all the volunteers and the participants of our today's session. Without whom, this event would have never been a success. Once again, I thank each and everyone for being a part of the 108th edition of webinar series. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Please project the last slide also on the next presentation, which will be conducted. Thank you. Please read out the topic and the speaker. Others.
So next week, we'll be having a talk session on the topic timber construction for residential building in Australia. The talk will be delivered by Biju Balakrishnan sir, National Technical Engineer Manager, Intrax Consulting Engineers Private Limited, Melbourne, Australia. So hope to see all of you in the next session on May 11th.
It is being planned to be held offline, physical mode, at 6 p.m. starting from 5:45 to 6 p.m. and end by say 7:15, 7:30. Thank you. Good night. Shall I stop recording or shall we go for a photo session? If everybody is willing, we can do that. Otherwise, we can forget that part.
Okay. I request all the participants to switch on the camera for a photo session.
Anyway, there are only 12 now. Yeah, thank you. V.K. Balasubramanian sir. Thank you, Gaumar sir. Murli Mohanlal sir. Hi.
Okay, it's done.
Did you say next week it is at 6 p.m.?
Yes, 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, I'll end the stream. So thank you.